In the past, Shinra was born into a miserable life, and everyone around him rejected him. Even his grandmother refused to adopt him after what happened, and called him a demon. And that was because of an incident that happened when he was a kid, when his whole house burned down because of a terrifying demon. And when the firefighters arrived, they could only save him, and told him that his mother and baby brother died. But instead of people sympathizing with him, they accused him of causing that fire. After years, Shinra was standing at the station and saw a fire in one of the train cars, and the smoke turned into huge flames, and the alarm sirens started to go off. So Shinra said with surprise, another fire, and when the car stopped in front of him, he smiled at it strangely, and a black, charred creature came out, its whole body in flames. So Shinra told him, you must be in pain, and he put his bag on the ground and got ready. But suddenly he heard a voice, saying the 8th Fire Force Company has arrived, and 4 members entered led by Obi and wearing firefighter uniforms. The captain Obi pushed Shinra away from the burning man and told him this place is too dangerous, and the operation to eliminate the Infernal began. So the captain told Iris the nun to cast her prayer. So Iris started saying it, and Lieutenant Hanawa fired an extinguishing shell at the Infernal, and the monster screamed because of the substance he fired, and Captain Obi prepared the pike that would destroy the Infernal's core to end it. So he ran, and Maki ran beside him, who was controlling the flames, and the Infernal fired a fireball at them, and Maki jumped toward the fireball and extinguished it with her power, and Obi reached the Infernal and placed the pike on its heart and fired. The Infernal evaporated, and Shinra was amazed by their teamwork and strength. But he saw a light about to fall from the ceiling on Iris, and suddenly flames came out of his leg to increase his speed, and he pushed Iris away from the light. So the lieutenant asked him, who exactly are you? So Shinra apologized for not introducing himself, and stood at attention and said, I am the newly assigned member of the 8th Fire Force Company, and I am a 3rd generation pyrokinetic firefighter. Then he went with them to the 8th Company headquarters, and when he entered with Hanawa, he met Captain Obi, who asked him, why do you smile like that in your file? So he replied, because when I get nervous my face twitches, and it looks like I'm smiling. So Obi came closer to him to make him nervous. So Shinra smiled, and Obi laughed mockingly, then said, that must cause you a lot of misunderstandings. So Shinra said, yeah, everyone thinks I'm mocking them. Then Obi asked him, what made you join the fire force? So Shinra replied with a nervous smile, I came here to be a hero. So Hanawa replied with surprise, a hero? As far as I remember, people used to call you the devil in the training academy, because of what happened when you were a kid. So Shinra looked at him angrily and didn't answer. Then Maki and Iris entered, and Obi stood them in front of him, and explained to them spontaneous human combustion. So he said, one day people started burning suddenly, and the victims of combustion, we call them the Infernals, and there's no way to stop them, except by destroying their cores and saving their souls and the souls of humans. And this is the mission of the Special Fire Force. Plus we must solve the mystery, and know the cause of their combustion, as soon as possible. At night Shinra had insomnia and couldn't sleep, and he was thinking of his mother, when he stood beside her as a child, while she was holding Shua's baby brother, and after the incident his grandmother called him a demon, and said she would not take care of a dangerous child like that. So a firefighter said to her, you shouldn't say that in front of your grandson. So she replied with disdain, my grandson? Do you know what this boy did? He's had that disgusting smile since what happened. Suddenly the alarm rang and Maki came in telling him an Infernal appeared. So Shinra got up quickly, and they all gathered in the captain's room, and he told them that the Infernal was the wife of a factory owner, and they all got ready and went out quickly, and Shinra was sitting in the car smiling nervously. So Obi put his hand on his head, and told him, this is your chance to be a hero. They entered the factory, and the flames surrounded them from all directions, and in front of them was a huge wall of fire, and Shinra stood looking at the flames. His breathing got louder and his heart beat faster, because he remembered when he was a kid and the house was full of fire. So Obi put his hand on his shoulder, and told him, I thought you wanted to be a hero. Firefighters don't abandon their team and run. When one of us slows down, we all slow down. So Shinra calmed down and got his courage back and stood up, and Maki went to the wall of flame and split it with her power, and suddenly the fire gathered behind them like a tornado, and exploded into Shinra, throwing him away. His head hit the metal, and he lost consciousness, and he remembered when he was a child and his mother was burning in front of him, and told him to run quickly. And after the house turned to ashes, Shinra stood with one of the firefighters, and he heard people talking, saying he was the cause of the fire, and that even his baby brother was burned to bones, and because he's a 3rd generation he must have started the fire in the house. So Shinra cried while smiling, and said to himself, it wasn't me. I'm sure there was something else in the house besides me, my mom, and my brother. But they thought Shinra was the devil and mocked his nervous smile, and since then Shinra couldn't smile for real again. Shinra woke up to the voice of Hanawa asking him, are you that pathetic? So Shinra stood up and saw the factory owner's wife surrounded by flames. So they all got ready, and Obi and Maki ran toward the Infernal to distract her, and Hanawa fired bullets at her, but she dodged all the shots skillfully, and hit Maki, and jumped at Obi to burn him. But Maki quickly returned to him and removed the fire from his body with her power. So Obi punched the Infernal with all his strength, pushing her away. Shinra stood on his hands and knees and flames burst strongly from his legs, and he rushed quickly toward the Infernal. She fired flames at him, and he dodged them skillfully. Then he propelled himself with fire until he reached her and placed his foot on her heart, and released flames with full power piercing her core. So Maki was amazed by the strength of the third generation, and the Infernal evaporated. After they went out, Iris told the factory owner that Shinra was the one who saved his wife, so the owner thanked him while crying heavily, and all the people cheered for the 8th company, and thanked them. So Obi told Shinra, from now on you'll hear those cheers a lot. Now you've taken your first step to becoming a hero. The next day, a new recruit came to the 8th company, and on the other side Shinra was with Obi, and Obi told him that there's a competition held between all the new recruits, and it's close, and it'll be you and the new recruit who's coming today representing the 8th company in the competition. Then he went out walking in the corridor, thinking about what happened when he was a kid, and suddenly he found the new recruit in front of him. So he smiled, and the new recruit said to him, "Hello demon." So Shinra asked him angrily, "What's a filthy knight like you doing here?" So the recruit grabbed his sword and told him, "I came to kill the demon." At the same time Maki and Iris were sitting on the roof, and Maki lit a flame in a bowl with a match, and then turned it into a cute ball like a doll. So Iris was amazed by it, and told her, "You're amazing," but Maki replied, "I don't agree with you. I'm just a second generation person, and I need something to make a flame, unlike Shinra who produces fire from his body." Suddenly the roof door broke, because Shinra kicked the new recruit. So Maki asked the recruit, "Who are you?" So he replied, "My name is Arthur, and I'm the Night King." So Iris told him, "You must be the third generation firefighter who's joining us." So Shinra replied, "He was with me in the academy, and he always tries to look cool and mysterious, but he's just an idiot." Then Hanawa came in and saw the fireball Maki made, so he poured coffee on it and put it out, and looked at Maki with a terrifying stare, and told her firefighters don't play with fire. Then he asked Arthur, "Are you the new recruit?" So Arthur replied disrespectfully, and said yes. So they told him, "Be careful, you're talking to the lieutenant." So he said stupidly, "Everyone is equal." So they all moved away from him and Hanawa expecting a fight now, but Hanawa ignored it. Then he told Shinra and Arthur, "The recruit games are close, and I want to see your skills. So you'll fight Maki right now." So both of them stood in front of her, and Iris was worried about Maki, because she would face 2 third generations, so Hanawa told her no need to worry. Maki is an experienced soldier and knows how to handle it well. Shinra started igniting flames in his leg, but before he could move Maki rushed at him and hit him in the chin. Before he fell he released fire and jumped. Maki extinguished the flames with her power and Shinra fell. She hit him before he touched the ground, and he fell off the roof, but before he hit the ground he saved himself with a burst of fire, and landed on his feet. Arthur confidently said, "That trick won't work on me," and grabbed his sword handle, but there was no blade, so he pumped fire into it and a plasma cutter came out, which was highly compressed blue fire. So Maki tried to extinguish it like she did with Shinra, and she couldn't, so she dodged skillfully, and he was about to cut her, but he stopped and put out the flames, saying, "It's impossible for me as a knight to harm a princess." So she grabbed his hand and threw him to the ground, and told him, "You forgot it's not knightly manners to kneel to princesses." Then she kneed him in the chin, knocking him down. He stood up with his teeth broken from the hit, and angrily told her, "You turned out to be a ghoul, not a princess." So Maki got mad because she almost heard gorilla instead of ghoul, and Shinra came back and saw her very angry, so he asked her, "What's that ghoul look?" She got angrier and turned the fire of him and Arthur into dolls. Arthur was shocked that it worked on his sword, and Maki gathered them both in one huge ball, so they both surrendered in fear. After that they went to the training room to choose a weapon for Shinra, so Hanawa gave him an axe that fires special nails that penetrate Infernals, and suddenly the alarm rang, so they all rushed out. In the vehicle Obi gave Shinra the axe and gave orders to the whole company that no one should draw their weapon, and when they reached the house where the Infernal appeared, they found a girl crying over her mother, who ignited before, and this time it was her father, and she was very scared that it would be her turn. So Obi told them get ready, and Arthur and Shinra drew their weapons. So he told them, "Come with me," and took them to a hallway, and asked them angrily, "Didn't I say no one draws their weapon?" So Arthur asked him why. "There's no rule in the firefighters code that says that." So Obi replied, "Our duty as firefighters is to fight and extinguish Infernals. But those Infernals were humans once, and there are firefighters who enjoy killing Infernals, and don't care about the feelings of those who survived any incident. What do you think that girl will feel if she sees in your hand the weapon you'll use to kill her father now?" And he told them, "Don't draw your weapons again, and if you don't understand then I don't need you in my company." So they said, "Yes sir." Shinra said to himself, "The captain is right," and a man appeared among the people wearing strange clothes, and a black hat hiding his left eye. His name was Joker, and he held a bottle of gunpowder, and threw it and lit it, and played with the shape of the fire, and made it into a sarcastically smiling face. They were all surprised that the Infernal inside the house did that even though he had no awareness, so they rushed inside the house quickly. But they found the girl's father, with only his head burning, and sitting wearing a suit, looking at them with no reaction. And Obi saw the family photo on the table, and turned it face down, and Arthur asked the captain to let him extinguish him. But Shinra told him wait, he didn't do anything. So Arthur replied angrily, "You idiot. This man is enduring the pain of the fire with difficulty, and we must free him from this suffering quickly." Obi gave him permission and Iris said the prayer, and Arthur stood behind him, and activated his sword piercing his heart, and in that painful moment a spark appeared in the ceiling, so they all escaped except Obi, who stayed to take the picture and give it to the girl. The ceiling broke and fell on him, but he got up fine and very angry. At the same time Joker was standing puzzled, and said to himself something strange is happening inside the fire force. The whole 8th company went out, and Obi gave the girl her photo with her family, and told her your father fought the flames bravely and won. Surely he and your mother were protecting you from the fire, so the girl cried in pain for her father and mother. The next day, Shinra went to the rookie games, and there he saw the captain of the first company Leonardo, who was with him when he was a kid, so he went to him and introduced himself. But Leonardo's expression changed and Shinra asked him do you remember the incident that happened 12 years ago? But Leonardo avoided him and said I have no time and left him and walked away. So Shinra went to him again and said sorry I won't take much of your time. So Leonardo asked him do you know how many fires happen every year? And told him I'm sorry I surely won't remember something that happened 12 years ago, but Shinra felt that he was definitely hiding something he didn't want to say. The competition started, and it was a simulation of a real fire happening in a building, and they had to overcome obstacles and rescue whoever needed saving. And all the recruits started running except Shinra, who stood still. They looked at him and saw him using fire to fly and start from the 2nd floor, and he intended to finish the competition quickly so he could stop Leonardo and ask him again. But suddenly he looked ahead and saw Joker had knocked out the actors who were supposed to be rescued, and told him hello. I got rid of anything that might get in our way, so give me your attention. Devil's footprints. Shinra was surprised, and Joker continued. The fire that happened 12 years ago where your mother and brother died. Do you want to know about it? Shinra was more shocked and asked him who are you? How do you know that? And shouted at him to stay away from the actors. Joker was surprised that he was worried about them more than hearing the fire story, and told him then I'll kill them, and lit the flames, so Shinra rushed to stop him. Joker dodged his attacks, and told him I'll tell you what you want if you entertain me a bit. He took out a bottle of gunpowder from his pocket and spread it in the air, and it seemed like he controlled it and directed it towards Shinra, so Shinra looked at the powder with confusion, and suddenly it exploded on him. Shinra stopped himself with flames, but Joker caught up quickly and cut his head, then spread more powder and exploded it on Shinra, and suddenly appeared again from the smoke and threw fire at him. Shinra's shoulder got injured, and he fell to the ground. Joker mocked him, and said you turned out to be too easy. Shinra smiled nervously and Joker was impressed by him, so he decided to tell him as a reward, and the first shock he told him was that his little brother Shu was still alive. From the shock Shinra screamed at him, and said he was just a baby, who couldn't save himself, and if he's alive where has he been since that fire? Joker interrupted him, and asked don't you think someone is hiding something? Shinra got angry and flames came out of his leg, then he remembered Leonardo so he put them out again. Joker asked him what is it? Did someone come to your mind? Shinra replied even if what you're saying is true, why do you know about this? And why are you telling me? What's your goal? Joker told him I think you have doubts about the Fire Force, and I want you to drop this hero game and search for the truth, or in other words join me as a devil. Shinra asked him sarcastically you're giving me a choice between being a hero or a devil, and told him I don't know anything about you except that you hurt innocent people. He rushed at him with all his strength, and this time he managed to hit him. Joker was amazed by the real power of the devil, and at the same time Arthur was walking in a hallway, and met a girl named Tamaki from the first company. They heard strange destruction sounds so they both ran toward it. Suddenly Arthur stood in front of her and blocked a fire shot from Joker, and Arthur thought he was the Infernal in the competition. So Shinra told them, no he's a suspicious person who entered here, but Arthur didn't believe him and thought he said that so he could defeat him himself and take all the credit, and attacked Joker with his sword. Joker mocked his weak skills. Tamaki turned into the fire cat mode, and flames formed ears and tails like a cat, and she fired red flames at him, but the powder passed in front of her so Shinra saved her before it exploded. Tamaki asked how could they put such a strong Infernal in the competition. Shinra replied angrily I told you he's not part of the competition. Joker decided to challenge Shinra, and spread gunpowder through the whole building, and told him try to save the people here, then disappeared. So Shinra carried the unconscious actors. Arthur cut the ceiling, but it didn't open. Tamaki continued what he did with her flames and opened it. They both grabbed onto Shinra and he flew them out of the building. A huge explosion separated them. Leonardo jumped and caught Tamaki, and Obi and the others caught Arthur, and Shinra landed with his flames. After they extinguished the building, Leonardo came to Shinra to thank him for saving his squad member, but Shinra turned his face and told him no problem. Then Obi ran to him and told him well done hero, and before Leonardo left he came close to Obi and told him you have an exceptional soldier. At night only Shinra and Obi were left in the place. Shinra told him everything Joker said, and asked him is the Fire Force really fighting for the people? Obi replied yes, but the Fire Force is not unified. The whole institution was formed by 3 other organizations: the Holy Soul Temple, which influences the first company, the Tokyo Army, which influences the second company, and Hajime Industries, which controls the 5th company. Each organization affects certain companies, Shinra was surprised and asked what does Hijima have to do with this. Obi replied because all the equipment we use is made by Hijima, and the fire force can't do anything without it, and told him supposedly all the companies have the same goal, but each one keeps the information it knows to itself. Maybe one company even knows the cause of spontaneous combustion itself. Most companies are good but some have suspicious goals. Shinra asked him what's our goal. Obi replied the 8th company is a group created by some people in the fire defense agency by force, and it's formed of me the captain, and people I trust, so we can investigate the companies, from 1 to 7, and get closer to the truth. So Shinra decided he would continue with him, and help him as much as he could. The next day Hanawa entered on Obi and Shinra, and told them after we analyzed Joker's powder we discovered it wasn't gunpowder. It was ash from infernal corpses. So Shinra was shocked and Obi got very angry, because he doesn't tolerate disrespect for the dead. After that Shinra went to the office to work on the important papers, and a call came from a person who thought they were regular firefighters, and didn't know they were fire soldiers, and told them there's a dog stuck up a tree. So Maki sent Arthur and Shinra, and when they arrived they found it wasn't a dog. It was a person wearing a dog suit and his name was Mamoru. So Shinra got him down, and asked him what made you climb up there. So he replied some college students were chasing and bullying me. And that's because a firefighter was a serial killer named Miyamoto. Since that case people got angry at the fire defense agency and firefighters. So they take out their anger on us. Shinra asked him and what happened to that firefighter. So he replied his trial is today, and most likely they'll declare him innocent for psychological reasons. At the same time in court Miyamoto was standing in front of the judge, and indeed the judge declared him innocent, so everyone got furious at that unfair judgment, and suddenly black ash came out from Miyamoto's hand and ignited. People cheered at him, but he turned into a conscious Infernal, and with a loud voice he threatened to kill them all, so they ran away from the court. Only the judge stayed behind, so Miyamoto jumped on him, and asked how dare you decide my fate. The judge replied with surprise, but I declared you innocent, and freed you. Miyamoto wrapped flames around his neck and strangled him. On the other side Maki informed the company that there was an Infernal, so they moved quickly in the vehicle and Hanawa spoke to Shinra and Arthur through the microphone, telling them don't move from your place without orders. But of course they didn't listen and Shinra flew with his flames and Arthur grabbed him, and they went after them. So Hanawa told them go ahead and stop the Infernal. At the same time Miyamoto came out of the court dragging the judge with him, and told him your life now belongs to me. He collided with Shinra who was flying fast. Miyamoto and Arthur flew beside each other. When they landed Arthur punched him sending him flying. Miyamoto tried to talk and understand but they kicked him at the same time, so he asked angrily what's your problem exactly. Arthur replied because of you the college students chased Mamoru and made him climb the tree. Miyamoto realized they were fire soldiers and told them you're just killers pretending to be saviors. At that moment Maki arrived and threw a fireball at him, but he stopped it easily with his hand. Obi was surprised that he was actually conscious. Hanawa said when a person clings too much to life and turns into an infernal his personality remains. But this is the first time I've seen this case. Suddenly Miyamoto raised his hand and surrendered, and told them if you're really not a group of killers you'll let me go. And anyway the court declared me innocent. Hanawa fired a bullet at him, and told him sorry I'm not kind enough to forgive a scum like you. Miyamoto laughed mockingly and told them I was right when I said you're a group of killers and fired at them. Hanawa stopped it but Miyamoto escaped from them. Shinra asked Obi for permission to chase him, and Obi agreed because he was the only one who could do it. Before he left Hanawa told him don't listen to anything he says. He's no longer human. Shinra rushed quickly after him. Miyamoto reached a place full of people wanting to play with them, but they ran away and Shinra arrived quickly and kicked him. Miyamoto got up and threw a car at him. Shinra kicked it upward and jumped after it, firing at it to push it toward him, but it didn't hit. Miyamoto was surprised by his strength and got scared of him. Shinra landed on the car with a terrifying look and smile. At the same time a group of fire soldiers from the 5th company were watching what was happening. Their captain Hibana said that new recruit is a treasure, but it'll be a waste to extinguish a conscious infernal like that, and ordered her soldiers to move and take him from Shinra. On the other side Arthur approached Miyamoto, so he got even more terrified, and told him at least say a prayer, so I won't suffer while dying. Shinra fell into the trap, and told him fine we'll wait for Iris to come. The moment he turned his back Miyamoto attacked him, but Shinra's reflexes were faster and he cut his hand off. Shinra decided to end him, but suddenly Hibana landed in front of him, and told him my company will handle this infernal don't interfere. Shinra replied angrily wait, this infernal appeared in the 8th company's area. Don't get involved. She used her rank and told him don't oppose a captain, but Shinra replied you're not my superior. She used a strange power with her eyes that made him fall to the ground unable to move, and ordered her company to restrain him. Shinra got angry and asked them with shock what are you doing? Firefighters are supposed to protect people, and he released flames from his leg freeing himself. Obi and the others arrived and stopped the fight. Hibana told Obi it's rare to find a conscious Infernal like this, and it would be a waste to eliminate him so easily, so we'll take him with us. Obi replied this area is under the 8th Company's jurisdiction, and that's arrogance from you. She told him extinguishing him will turn him to mere ash. And the 8th Company is still new and has no scientific team like ours, and this sample is valuable, and will be a good step toward the truth. He asked her will you share your research results with us? She replied with a strange smile of course, so Obi was forced to agree. Suddenly a soldier from the 5th Company named T-Ru interrupted, and told Obi you're a nobody with no talent. Shinra and Arthur got angry and grabbed him. He mocked them too and Maki entered, and with one punch knocked him to the ground. Hibana threatened Obi that if any of his soldiers interfered again she'd destroy him. Obi replied the flames of the 8th Company will never be extinguished, so she withdrew with her company and left. The next day the whole company gathered on the roof to train for combat, and Hanawa told them that it's in case they ever had to fight any of the other companies like the 5th Company. They started the training but Shinra stood next to Hanawa and asked him about Hibana, so he told him she's a 3rd generation soldier who appeared out of nowhere and reached her rank through some illegal research on Infernals and sold them. Shinra replied with surprise that means she might actually know the reason behind human combustion itself. Hanawa told him maybe, but what we're sure of is that she has enough information to make her a captain, and we plan to use force to get that information. At night Hibana was in the lab torturing Miyamoto, taking out her anger on the 8th Company on him. At the same time Maki entered Shinra and Arthur's room, and asked them do you know where Iris went? Shinra was shocked. On the other side Iris was standing in front of the 5th Company building, and told the guards tell your captain Iris wants to meet you. Hibana allowed her to enter, and asked her mockingly and arrogantly, what does a weak and small girl like you want from me? Iris replied I don't know what you're doing, but it must be something dangerous right? And told her also this must be corrupted research. Are these your morals my sister? Hibana got angry and told her don't call me that again, grabbed her angrily, and told her everything we learned at school was a lie, and you're stupid for believing it, and sticking to your faith until now. Then she told her I'll use you to bring the 8th Company here, and destroy them. Before she finished her sentence the alarm went off, because Shinra had broken into the place. At the same time Arthur cut through a wall with his sword, while standing on top of the company's vehicle to pass through. Hanawa ordered Shinra to go to Iris quickly while he and Maki fought the 5th Company soldiers, and ordered Arthur to follow Shinra while they covered him. Shinra used his flames and flew over the soldiers. Hanawa fired his sniper at the soldiers' heads to knock them unconscious but not kill them, since he was a 2nd generation pyrokinetic who could control flames but not ignite them. The bullets didn't harm them because he controlled the power and reduced it when he fired. The soldiers tried to chase Arthur, so Hanawa shot at them with pistols to let him through. Arthur tried to follow Shinra's footprints to find his location, but an old man from the 5th Company with a cone-shaped head stopped him, and told him I won't let you reach the 5th Company's secrets, and he had Miyamoto with him, after being experimented on and injected with a certain drug that increased his strength. At the same time after Hanawa and Maki finished, T-Ru was hiding and blew a gum balloon that floated toward them. Suddenly the balloon exploded, but Maki had expected it and pulled Hanawa away. T-Ru continued blowing gas balloons from his mouth and exploding them near them. Hanawa and Maki took cover. Maki saw the source of the balloons through a mirror. Hanawa fired bullets in the air and controlled them to move to the hallway where T-Ru was hiding, but the bullets fell to the ground and didn't hit him. It turned out it was Hanawa's plan, and he made the bullets fly again and bounce into the hallway, until one hit one of T-Ru's balloons and exploded on him. On the other side Miyamoto fired flames from his hands at Arthur, something he could do after being injected with the drug. Arthur dodged the flames skillfully. Miyamoto rushed at him and smashed him into a container. Arthur got up and attacked but couldn't hit him, and Miyamoto threw him again. Miyamoto told him with surprise you act strong but you're weak and stupid. Arthur was confused why he couldn't fight properly, and tried again with the same result, then realized he was holding the sword with his left hand. Even though he's right-handed, he threw it to his right hand and rushed at Miyamoto, cutting him in half with one strike. At the same time Maki defeated 2 of the 3 female soldiers in the company, and only one was left hiding in fear. Shinra reached Hibana's palace and entered it. He found 3 female soldiers blocking him. With one kick he defeated them, and entered on Hibana while she was talking to Iris in a scary and cruel way. Hibana told Iris watch me as I burn him first. Shinra ignited his flames, but before he could move Hibana looked at him with the power of her eyes. The fire went out, and he fell to the ground unable to move. He asked her what did you do? She replied it's a heat haze. Your body is now surrounded by the heat I created. The heat expands your blood vessels and lowers your blood pressure and blood flow to the brain. That's why you feel dizzy. Shinra gathered his strength and tried to resist, standing on his shaking legs, replying shortness of breath and dizziness are just in my mind. She told him no you're delusional thinking you're a hero. She was shocked that he could stand. He told her that's nothing compared to the training Hanawa makes me do. She opened her fan and ignited flames, fired fireballs at him. Shinra rushed at her quickly, but she used her eye ability again making him lose balance and crash into the wall. Shinra hid his face to wake himself up. Hibana created a sakura tree made of flames. The flowers spread around him and burned whatever they touched. Iris told her what you're doing is meaningless and wrong. Hibana replied the church raised all of us as orphans. We were all devoted to the ruler, but I was the only one who didn't take it seriously. Until the day all the girls who were with us suddenly burned, and only you and I remained. How did they burn when they were all devoted and better than me? That's when I realized all of it was meaningless, and I left. Shinra stood up again and told her you're a victim of the flames too. I understand a little of what you feel. She replied angrily no you don't, and released a storm of flowers burning him. Despite the pain he resisted and landed on the ground. She was shocked that her heat haze no longer affected him. Shinra told her angrily I'll get up every time, and I won't be defeated because of you. She was surprised by his words and he continued listen, I'm about to defeat you for your own sake, because there are no heroes in this world. I'll be the hero, and he rushed at her punching her hard. When she woke up she found herself resting on Iris's lap. Iris told her you were our hero in school. Hibana replied but I had no one at all. I only had my flames and even they betrayed me. Shinra came closer and told her, if you need a hero I'm right here. Just call and I'll come save you anytime. Hibana gave up and told them I've lost anyway, so I won't fight you again. The next day Hibana was standing with Obi, and he asked her will the fifth company cooperate with us completely. She replied not the fifth company. I personally will cooperate with you. The fifth company is a subsidiary organization, but connected to Hejima, so it will be hard for your company to face them. Be grateful that I'll cooperate with you. Then he told her we heard that you discovered an explanation for spontaneous human combustion. She replied yes. There's someone who's deliberately creating infernals. And of course not every infernal in the world, but some samples in my research were clearly different from the others. Obi got angry and said I'll find him and end him. Hibana gave him information that most of the infernals created by someone appear in the first company's area. The next day Obi decided to send Shinra and Arthur on a secret investigation at the first company, under the excuse of the new recruit reassignment training system, which allows new members to be temporarily assigned to other companies to increase their experience. Hanawa told them inside the first company's headquarters there might be someone creating infernals unnaturally. Your mission is to collect as much evidence as you can. Hibana suggested sending soldiers from other companies too, because it would be suspicious if only the 8th company wanted to do it, and they would suspect them. The next day Shinra, Arthur, and Maki went, accompanied by T-Ru from the 5th company, and a member from the 2nd company named Nodo. When they entered they were greeted by Leonardo, and Shinra decided to use the opportunity to find a gap that would allow him to ask about the incident that happened 12 years ago. So he suggested that Leonardo evaluate their abilities himself through a friendly fight, and if Shinra managed to hit him, he would allow him to ask. Leonardo replied I don't mind, and asked Lieutenant Rekka to help him in the fight. When they went to the training yard Leonardo decided to let the 2nd company member Nodo start first against Rekka. Nodo got very nervous when he saw the flames in Rekka's hands, and found fireballs coming out of him automatically, and turning into missiles. Rekka got excited and encouraged him to attack, but Nodo got more scared and launched the missiles uncontrollably. Rekka dodged them all and a few of them escaped toward Karim, who was holding a bell in his hand and had a horn on his back. He rang the bell and the fire disappeared, and at the same moment a huge amount of ice came out of the horn. Karim formed a large block of ice, and threw it angrily at Rekka, because he almost hit Leonardo. Arthur approached Karim, and asked him the first company has a firefighter who produces ice instead of flames. Maki asked him what did you just do? He replied that's thermal cooling through sound. It's a technique that converts fire into sound first, by pressure then turns the sound into cold when it contacts the air. Everyone was shocked that such a thing even existed, and Shinra thought surely the one creating the infernals must be someone from the first company, or maybe all of them. After that it was Shinra and Arthur's turn against Leonardo. Arthur pushed Shinra aside to attack first. Confident that Shinra wouldn't even get a turn after him, he ran at Leonardo quickly. Leonardo raised his hand and Arthur stopped suddenly confused, asking what will you do with that hand? Leonardo replied attack me with all you've got, or it won't be a duel. Arthur told him don't blame me if you lose your arm. Leonardo replied it'll take more than a bit of fire to cut it off. Arthur attacked him and was shocked when Leonardo actually stopped his sword easily with his hand. Suddenly he grabbed the blade, disabled it, and sent Arthur flying away. Shinra rushed quickly at him. Leonardo stopped his leg just as easily without even moving from his place. Shinra increased his speed and kicked him skillfully, but Leonardo still followed his movements effortlessly and blocked them. Shinra lunged to hit him with a finishing blow, placing his foot on his chest like he did with Infernals, and fired flames with full power, but couldn't pierce his chest, only burning his shirt. Leonardo stomped on the ground, with his leg sending Shinra flying to the end of the arena. The next day Obi was reading the Fifth Company's research, and found information saying every infernal sample's core contained DNA from a being other than the victim itself. Hibana told him, in this research I discovered that all the infernals that were created shared something in common: insect traces. At the same time Shinra and the others were having breakfast at the restaurant. Suddenly the alarm rang. They all moved quickly in the vehicles. When they arrived, Captain Karim told them there were 5 infernal victims in the area. He assigned tasks and divided teams, ordering Shinra and Arthur to stay where they were with a specific team, and left. Suddenly Shinra sensed an infernal nearby. He looked and saw a normal man coming out of a hallway looking sick. He approached him to check on him, and was shocked when a hand came out from another hallway, and placed a bottle on his back, containing an insect. When the insect entered the man's body he ignited. Shinra rushed quickly toward the hallway leaving the infernal. Arthur ran after him but found a barrier, and saw Lieutenant Karim and Rekka standing there shocked. Arthur arrived and drew his sword, asking what are you doing here, but Shinra hit him to shut him up and told them sorry, we just got lost. Then Tamaki arrived reporting that all infernals were extinguished. When they returned to the headquarters Arthur asked Shinra, why did you stop me? Shinra replied, we still don't know who's enemy and who's ally, so we can't cause trouble. If they noticed we suspected something they'd eliminate us, because they're stronger than us. They decided to start the investigation from Karim's room first. When they reached it Arthur opened the door, using his flames without breaking it to leave no trace. They entered and searched for any evidence. Arthur opened the desk drawer, and they were surprised to find the same bottle that contained the insect. They concluded that Karim was the one creating the infernals. At that moment Karim appeared behind them, telling them I left that insect there on purpose, when I felt you were suspicious. Now I know the 8th Company is chasing this insect, just like me, and wants to catch its owner. They were surprised he was on their side, and Shinra asked, why should we trust you? He pointed at his clothes and told them there was someone else wearing the same outfit I am. They understood he meant Rekka, and he told them about an incident that happened 2 months ago, where a group of children burned in an unnatural way. At that time he found this insect there. Shinra understood he meant the orphanage incident of Iris and Hibana. At the same time 2 children were walking alone in the street. Tamaki appeared to them and told them fires are very scary, and you surely heard about the recent children incident. What do you think of a guaranteed way to never burn? Come with me. Back to Karim. He was sitting alone in his room holding a photo of him, Rekka, and Yan looking at it sadly, then decided to go search for Rekka. On the other side Tamaki took the 2 children to an abandoned place where Rekka was, surrounded by other kids too. He told her, finally I found a charm that will protect from turning into an infernal. Tamaki was very happy, thinking she was helping him in this heroic work. The children's mother asked Rekka they will never turn into infernals after this charm, right? He replied confidently of course. In that moment of pride he asked Tamaki to leave, but she insisted to stay and watch. He grabbed her and pressed hard until she fainted. The children's mother got scared and told him we changed our mind, but Rekka's face turned sinister, and he said your decision is not accepted. Do you want to destroy your children's future or what? He pulled out an insect and placed it in her body. She ignited and Rekka struck her with a flaming punch in her heart, killing her. He was upset that she died because he wanted to create an infernal that wouldn't die. At the same time Shinra and Arthur saw Karim leaving to search for Rekka. They insisted on joining him despite his refusal, so he was forced to agree. The children screamed and cried seeing their mother die before their eyes. Tamaki woke up from fainting and was shocked by the truth about Rekka, whom she thought was a hero. He told her, you're the only one who understands my passion and excitement. Don't you dare stand against me? She replied, impossible. You're hurting people. I was deceived by you. Rekka angrily started hitting her, shouting that he was right and wouldn't stop until he found the perfect infernal that doesn't die. He hit Tamaki again to make sure she wouldn't resist, and placed another insect in a boy named Tak. Flames came out of the boy's eyes and mouth, but strangely extinguished again. Shinra was flying in the sky searching for anything strange. He heard Tak scream but thought he was imagining it. Tamaki asked, won't the boy turn into an infernal? Rekka replied, he's completely compatible with the insect. I succeeded. 4 children remain. Tamaki begged him to stop and screamed, calling for help from anyone. Flames erupted from her unintentionally and went outside the building. Shinra saw her from above. Rekka got very angry at what she did, started hitting her again, this time harder, deciding to finish her with one final blow. Suddenly Tamaki saw Shinra descending from the rooftop surrounded by flames propelling him, landing his burning foot on Rekka's face. He asked Tamaki, are you okay? She cried hard because she had lost all hope of surviving. Suddenly Rekka stood up behind Shinra, and with his flaming punch sent him flying. Shinra stopped himself midair with his flames, but Rekka rushed at him again and punched him. Shinra blocked his strike with his leg, and jumped on him to restrain him, but Rekka stood up, igniting his fist and slammed it down. Shinra grabbed it, and spun his leg in a fiery fan motion. They stood facing each other again, while Tamaki was amazed that Shinra could fight equally with Rekka. Strangely, one of the insects that Rekka had reacted to Shinra's flames. Rekka got excited, and told him, it's trying to return to the flame, which means you're the 3rd person the Evangelist is searching for. I've been igniting children for a long time to find the right one, but I didn't expect to find one here. Shinra got furious but stood thinking how to defeat him. Since they were equal in strength, he decided to use the building he was in and his legs' flame propulsion ability. Rekka prepared himself to igniting both hands with fire. Shinra charged at him with his knee and Rekka blocked it. Shinra quickly jumped to the wall and lunged again. Rekka dodged but Shinra fired flames launching himself upward, then followed fast and kept attacking. Rekka charged his hand with fire, but Shinra outsped him with his flying ability spinning around him, then stood on the ceiling and came down heel, first on Rekka's face smashing the floor. Rekka remained lying on the ground trying to breathe. Shinra was dizzy from the amount of fire he had used which drained the oxygen in his body. Rekka started to get up again. Shinra told him to surrender and give himself up peacefully. Rekka replied angrily, I finally found a suitable child for the Evangelist. I'll never let him go. Shinra asked, and who is this Evangelist anyway? Why are you turning children into Infernals? And do you have other companions? Rekka stood up and said, I find the suitable children to increase those with powers like mine. All of it by the will of the Evangelist. Our goal is to turn this planet into a star like the sun. Shinra was surprised by the foolish goal he said, but Rekka started spinning his hand like a fan and ignited it until his whole body was on fire. Shinra warned him he would burn himself. At that moment Karim interfered and froze his hand. Rekka tried to melt the ice, but the more he increased the fire the thicker the ice became until his whole body froze solid. Yen entered and asked Karim what's happening here. Karim replied, we'll know when we take him back to headquarters, but suddenly a fiery arrow pierced Rekka's frozen heart. Two people stood on another building's rooftop wearing white. One was a sniper named Arrow, and the other was a man named Heron. He told her there are more soldiers down there, take some of them out. Arrow fired another arrow but missed. She tried again, and it almost hit Karim, but Yan saved him and lost his hand. Karim ordered Shinra to make a smoke screen around them to block the sniper's view, then told him to check on the enemy. Shinra peeked carefully from the window and reported the two individuals standing. Karim ordered Tamaki to extend her flaming tail toward them and froze it to show them their position was exposed, and once they realized their location was known they decided to withdraw. Karim felt guilty about Yan's hand being cut off to protect him. Yan told him, don't worry, you're the shield of the company, and the most important person. Afterward Karim asked Shinra, the 8th company's goal is to investigate the fire soldiers, right? And surely you'll pursue this Evangelist he mentioned. Shinra said yes. Karim replied, then I'll do the same, so let me work with you. Shinra agreed with him. The next day Obi and Hanawa took Shinra, Tamaki, and Hibana with them to a captain's meeting. As they approached the meeting place Shinra was amazed by Tokyo's thermal energy plant called Amaterasu. At the gate Obi met Lieutenant Karim and welcomed him. Karim thanked him for what his company had done and announced his cooperation with the 8th company in their investigation. They all entered except Hibana. She was approached by a masked man who was the captain of the 3rd company named Dr. Giovanni. He told her, I thought you were with Hijima like me, but it seems you spend a lot of time with the 8th company. She ignored his words and left him to go inside. Inside were Captain Leonardo, Gustav the 2nd company captain, Giovanni, Kigo the 4th company captain, Hibana, Kyoko the 6th company captain, and Shimon the 7th company captain. Shimon sat in a disrespectful way toward the place they were in. Obi told his squad the 7th company is here even though they never attend anything. They were interrupted by the arrival of Emperor Raffles Athu. When he sat down he said, the general of Tokyo's army and the head of the fire defense agency say, there are people moving in secret and threatening our nation, and all fire companies must destroy the traitor Evangelist. Shimon mocked his words and Gustav threatened him saying, if you don't show respect I'll eliminate you. Shimon stood and said, we of the 7th company are just a bunch of idiots guarding our district, and I don't remember pledging loyalty to the empire. Then walked out saying, we'll do what we want. The emperor tried to stop him but he ignored him and left. Then the emperor called Shinra and asked him, you have Adolla Burst, right? Shinra replied, that's what Rekka said, but what is Adolla Burst anyway? The emperor explained, it's the pure original flame. You must have seen it on your way here at Amaterasu. It's the source of fire that provides all energy to the Tokyo Empire. Giovanni spoke and said the Evangelist wants to gather all Adolla Bursts, though scientifically we still don't know the difference between it and ordinary fire. Could this Evangelist know that difference? Then he said, surely the Evangelist will come again for Shinra. Shouldn't we secure him? Shinra objected saying the fire soldier companies exist to protect people. I can protect myself just fine. Hibana said other companies have no right to interfere in the 8th company's matters. She leaned toward Obi whispering that the 3rd company wanted to take Shinra as a sample. Obi told the emperor the 8th company is responsible for Shinra's protection. The emperor agreed and ordered them to take good care of him. After that Obi and the others returned to the 8th company's headquarters except Shinra, who stayed at Amaterasu asking to see it alone. While standing there thinking about the Evangelist, he suddenly heard Joker's voice behind him. Joker told him Adolla Burst is one of the pure flames that power Amaterasu, but that same flame is the cause of this world's downfall. Shinra prepared to fight, but Joker told him, I'm not in the mood to fight today, I just came to talk. He told him I came to give you information you want to hear. Consider it a reward for getting closer to the truth. Keep chasing the Evangelist, and you'll find your brother there, because he's the commander of the Knights of the Ashen Flame under the Evangelist's service. Shinra was shocked that his brother was in a place like that serving the Evangelist. He asked Joker what do you mean by that, but was surprised to find him already gone. Shinra returned to the company headquarters, and they all sat together searching through the documents for any clue about the Evangelist, or the group dressed in white. At night they took a break and Hanawa got up to cook, ordering Shinra to help. In the kitchen Hanawa asked him, are you alright? Shinra was surprised and Hanawa told him, if it's hard to talk to me, talk to the captain. I love the 8th Company and I want you new soldiers to trust us. Shinra replied, I also love the 8th Company, and I trust you and Captain Obi. When they finished cooking, Shinra went to call the others. Obi entered and asked Hanawa about Shinra. Hanawa confidently replied, don't worry, you didn't recruit weak people. They all sat to eat together. Shinra decided to tell them what Joker told him. Arthur said, but it's Joker's words. Should we trust him? Obi asked Shinra, do you want to believe your brother is alive or not? Shinra replied, yes. Obi said, then we'll all believe it too and help you find him. The next day Obi gathered the company and showed them the records of incidents where people wearing white robes appeared, and Hanawa told them about the first Infernal suppression mission of the 8th Company, where they saw an Infernal dressed completely in white, and that day they managed to extinguish him without any casualties. But there were many suspicious factors in that incident. The victim had no relatives, and the company she worked for came and took all her personal belongings as quickly as possible. Obi continued, after investigating we discovered that company still exists in Asakusa, which is an area under the jurisdiction of the 7th Company. On the other side, Shimon entered his house, where he was met by Conro, the lieutenant of the 7th Company, who told him that the 8th Company had called and were requesting permission to investigate our area regarding the Evangelist case. Shimon replied, no, that's troublesome, ignore them. They were interrupted by Obi entering the house and saying, we're already here. Shimon asked, what are you doing here? Obi replied, I heard you hate formalities, so we decided to come directly. Shimon refused to let them search the area because he wasn't interested in that Evangelist matter and didn't want anyone to disturb the residents. Obi replied, the Evangelist is creating Infernals, and there's a chance that the people of this area will be next. Shimon asked sarcastically, is that what the Empire says? He told them, I've never seen one of them turn a person before, and I'm not naive enough to believe that. Shinra replied, I saw them with my own eyes. Shimon got angry and said, I don't care what one of the Empire's dogs saw. Shinra also got angry and replied, I don't want to hear that from a suspicious bystander. I heard you're the strongest fire soldier, strong enough to make the Empire acknowledge your town's forces, but now it's my turn to defeat you and make you acknowledge me. At that moment they heard the town's bells ringing, which meant a fire. Shimon walked out telling them, leave this place before I come back. When he asked who burned, he was upset because it was the same person who invited him for a drink that night. Suddenly the whole town started preparing and Shimon grabbed a broom, like staff, and threw it with all his strength toward the Infernal. The broom ignited midair and destroyed many houses. Shinra was shocked by what he was doing and that the villagers were happy about it. Shimon took another broom, ignited it, and flew with it toward the Infernal. People threw him more brooms and he lit them all, then threw them at the Infernal, destroying more houses. Shinra asked how could he do that to people's homes. An old woman replied, we can rebuild these houses anytime, but after that person turned into an Infernal his life ended. We do this to honor the burning person. Arthur asked how could he both generate fire and control fire at the same time. Conro replied, because he's a compound generation, meaning a firefighter of both second and third generation at once. Shimon approached the Infernal and bid him farewell, thrusting his hand into his heart and extinguishing him, telling him, sadly you endured well. Shinra stood on top of one of the buildings with the old woman watching Shimon. She thanked him for letting her see the scene till the end, and asked, you must think Shimon's way is strange and wrong, right? She continued, we destroy buildings as a form of honor to the person who burned. Everyone in our world is terrified of flames and transformation, but for the people here we all want Shimon to be the one to extinguish us, if that ever happens. After that, Shimon assigned tasks to the townspeople to repair the village. Shinra suggested to Obi that they help with the rebuilding, and Obi agreed since they wouldn't be able to talk to them anyway until they finished. Shimon saw them helping with their abilities and working hard alongside the villagers. On the other side, Arrow, Heron, and another member of the same group named Yona were in one of Asakusa's buildings, all surprised that the 8th Company was in the 7th Company's territory. Haran asked her what's the Evangelist's decision about this. She replied, we were ordered to eliminate them, and we failed last time, so they started preparing insects and traps. By sunset, Shimon was placing cold compresses on the burns on Conro's body, and told him, sadly you should have been the captain. Conro replied, someone who can't fight doesn't deserve to be a captain. Shinra entered chasing Hika and Hina, the youngest members of the 7th Company. They complained to Shimon about him. Shinra said he was just playing with them. Conro thanked him for helping with the village repairs and for playing with Hika and Hina. Shinra noticed the burns on Conro's body, and realizing they were busy he took Hika and Hina and left. Conro told Shimon the 8th company members are really kind and not like the other fire companies. He asked him why don't we cooperate with them. Shimon replied with another question, is that what you'd do if you were the captain? Conro said you're not the captain just because you're strong. Shimon replied I know, but I'm not the right person to be responsible for others, and decided to help the 8th company for Conro's sake. Shimon went out to meet Shinra. Shinra asked about Lieutenant Conro's body. Shimon explained that when 3rd generation users exceed their power limit their bodies start to burn and eventually turn to ash. Then he said I want to meet your captain. That night Shimon went out to meet Obi. On his way he heard 2 people impersonating Obi and Hanawa, saying good thing we succeeded in turning that man into an infernal. We must continue until we turn all the villagers here. Shimon got furious. Flames erupted from him reaching the sky. On the other side the real Obi and Hanawa were running away from Shimon who was trying to kill them. He threw anything he could find igniting it with flames, shouting don't act I saw you with my own eyes and heard you. Shinra intervened, blocking the flames, and told him, I don't know what you saw but calm down. Shimon shouted shut up. There's no reason to calm down after hearing your captain and lieutenant planning to turn the entire town into infernals. Obi tried to explain it didn't happen, but Shimon refused to listen and demanded they fight him to prove the truth. At the same time 2 members of the white-cloaked group were standing on a rooftop disguised as Obi and Hanawa watching the scene. The battle began between the entire 8th company and Shimon alone, but they couldn't keep up with his strength and movements. Hanawa fired at him but Shimon stopped the bullets easily. Arthur and Tamaki attacked simultaneously, as Hanawa shot again. Shimon blocked all bullets and pushed Tamaki aside with his hand, then grabbed Arthur using him to deflect Hanawa's shots. After that he ignited his hand and swung it through the air. Nothing happened at first, then suddenly a fiery blast struck Arthur and Tamaki, sending them flying. Obi got very angry and joined the fight. Shimon asked him why did you turn someone from my town? Obi replied no matter what I say you won't listen so shut up and attack me. Shimon launched fireballs at him and Obi blocked them with a metal shield. Shimon asked confused, why don't you neutralize the fire? Obi charged and said because I can't, I don't have any powers. Shimon was shocked and asked aren't you afraid of the flames? Obi replied of course I'm afraid because they're very hot. He attacked him again, but Shimon hit his helmet with fire knocking him back, and asked why would someone who knows the terror of flame turn another person into an infernal. Obi tried to explain there was a misunderstanding, but Shimon ignited 5 rods angrily saying I saw you myself. He threw them at Obi who dodged, and threw fire extinguishing grenades at him. He rushed forward but Shimon hit him causing Obi to drop a smoke bomb. Obi attacked again throwing grenades at Shimon's feet, forcing him to retreat. Obi leapt through the smoke at him, but Shimon flipped him to the ground and ignited his helmet. Obi hit him on the head with the helmet. Afterward Obi stood up removing his helmet. Shinra was amazed that Obi had that much strength. Suddenly Conro entered weak and barely walking asking what happened. At the same time the fight between Obi and Shimon continued. Shimon intended to end it with one final powerful strike. Conro ran toward them standing in front of Shimon, but Shimon didn't listen and prepared to strike. Conro grabbed his hand using his fire suppression ability. He struggled because he wasn't supposed to use his power. Shimon ordered Hika and Hina to bring the cold compresses. Despite that Conro asked Shimon to at least listen to what the 8th company had to say. Shimon decided to calm down and took them to the house. While lying sick in bed Conro asked where were you when Shimon saw what he saw. Hanawa replied the captain and I were buying some things from the town's shop. Shinra was surprised saying but Captain Obi told me to get Shimon and meet him in the alley. Obi replied I don't remember saying anything like that. Shimon got angry and decided to go ask at the shop to confirm they were there, ordering them not to leave until he made sure they were innocent. After he left Shinra asked Conro about what happened to his body. Conro replied sadly because I wasn't strong enough. But Shimon didn't do anything wrong. Shinra was surprised and said, but Captain Shimon seems regretful about it. Conro told them that one day a huge number of the townspeople turned into infernals all at once. The 2 of them were fighting together, but Shimon had reached his limit and could barely breathe. Suddenly a daemon appeared from within the fire, clearly much stronger than any normal infernal. At that moment Conro pushed Shimon with all his strength toward a house. Shimon broke through the wooden wall and lost consciousness, and Conro stood to fight the demon. At dawn Shimon woke up and found everything was over. He quickly got up and left the house he was in, finding Conro sitting on the ground with burns all over his body. Shimon started blaming himself and blaming Conro for not letting him fight with him. Conro replied because I couldn't afford to lose you in a time like that. Shimon got angry and asked then who will be responsible for the town after it's like this. Conro grabbed him tightly and said you. At that moment the fire defense forces arrived late and the captain of the 4th company offered Conro to become the captain of the 7th company. Shimon got angry thinking they were doing that out of fear of their strength, but Conro took it wisely and asked the captain, what would we gain from that? Captain Go said you'll receive financial support, equipment, gear, and excellent members. Conro replied let me think and decide. After he left Shimon angrily asked Conro, are you planning to become a dog for the empire? Conro replied if we had been an official company back then, the damage would have been less, and if the empire wants to use us then we can use them too. Shinra asked in surprise. You did all that for Captain Shimon. Conro replied because Shimon is supposed to be the one responsible. And I don't regret sacrificing my body for him. And if I had to sacrifice myself for him I'd do it. Shinra replied don't do that. Long ago I lost my family and everything precious to me. For me there's no cheap life and valuable life. Everyone's life is valuable and that's why I want to be a hero who protects everyone. So before you sacrifice your life Lieutenant Conro use me please. I want to help. Conro thanked him for his feelings and agreed that if something happened he'd call him. On the other side Shimon found all the townspeople in the streets arguing and accusing each other of things. The strange part was that all the accused denied doing anything. Shimon started suspecting something strange was happening in the town. At the same time Shinra and the others went out to the street and found Hina and Hika fighting strangely, each one saying the other wasn't real. They tried to calm them down but suddenly Arthur got angry and kneed Hika in the face, grabbing her and throwing her into the wall. Hina was overjoyed, but the whole company got mad at him and blamed him for hitting a little girl. He said confused, how can't you see that's a short old man in disguise? They looked at her again and saw Hika. They hit him until suddenly bubbles appeared on her face and she transformed into an old man. Conro was shocked. At the same time in one of the buildings Yona was standing in front of a strange person and changing his face with fire, but he didn't like the final result and angrily exploded his head with heat. Arrow stopped him saying we don't have enough human resources for you to waste them like that. She told him also the insects are ready and they must start the plan as soon as possible. On the other side Shimon stood in the middle of the town, still not understanding what was happening or why people were misunderstanding each other. He realized it was the same thing that happened with the 8th company. Suddenly he saw flames rising in the sky from people turning into infernals, while the white-cloaked group stood watching what was happening, wishing the insects would find a compatible person who would remain burning forever and become a demon. The 8th company stood confused by what was happening, but Obi refused for the company to intervene, because the area was under the jurisdiction of the 7th company, and interference wouldn't be official. Also out of respect for the townspeople who didn't want to be extinguished in the imperial way, he ordered them to evacuate people and protect them from the infernals only. Suddenly an arrow headed toward Maki, but Tamaki quickly saved her. Another arrow followed and Maki stood to block it, but it was far stronger and pierced her barrier. Before it reached her she turned it into a cute small fireball, like she always did, greatly reducing its power. Shinra flew off to find where the shot came from. Hanawa ordered Arthur to follow him. Suddenly Shinra saw an arrow heading for him, and dodged quickly, noticing its trajectory had shifted so he tried to predict the source. Meanwhile Conro was threatening the old man who had disguised himself as Hika, but he refused to say anything and suddenly dropped a bottle of insects and turned into an infernal. Hanawa shot him quickly and extinguished him. Conro was surprised by the bottle that fell from him. Obi entered telling him they failed to evacuate the residents because they refused to take orders from the 8th company. At the same time Shimon tried to tell the townspeople not to run in that direction, but no one listened to him. Shinra was still searching for the sniper, and suddenly passed beside her. When Arrow shot an arrow hitting him, Shinra flew up again and saw her jumping behind the building. He rushed toward her, but it was a trap and Haran attacked him with a dagger. Shinra grabbed his hand, but Haran restrained him and Arrow aimed at him. Arthur intervened blocking her arrow with his sword. Arrow was surprised he could deflect it. Shinra pushed Haran away. Arrow fired another arrow and Arthur blocked it. She was shocked by the sword's strength. Arthur and Shinra argued about staying out of each other's way. Haran charged at them kicking both. They got up again still arguing. Haran attacked once more clashing with Shinra. Shinra dodged and accidentally hit Arthur. Arrow fired explosive arrows at them missing but the smoke blinded them. Arthur noticed Haran coming, blocked his strike, and fired flames from his leg at him. Then they decided to cooperate to defeat them. They started their attack, and this time landed the hits. Haran shielded Arrow from Arthur's sword telling her to escape quickly. Shinra prepared to chase her but Haran confronted them, pulling out an insect and putting it in his mouth. Meanwhile Conro climbed to a high place calling for Shimon. Finding Shimon facing an infernal, he felt sad and said let me end your suffering, leaped on him knocking him down and thrust his hand into his heart extinguishing him. After that Shimon rode his broom and went to Conro, telling him there was a misunderstanding happening and everyone was in a state of panic. Conro explained that someone was changing people's faces and asked Shimon to tell the townspeople that himself, because no one would listen to anyone else. Conro replied no, that's not my duty. Everyone is waiting for the great man who'll bring order to the chaos. It's time you make your decision. Shimon told him to come down from the tower. Shimon climbed to the highest point of the tower, while people were fighting each other, and Yona was delighted by what he had caused among them. They suddenly heard an explosion, and all looked to the sky to see Shimon flying with the tower using his flames, shouting at the top of his voice, listen, our town is under attack, and there are people transforming to look like us and deceive us. There's no way to tell them apart and we won't solve anything this way. Everyone cheered for Shimon, and got fired up. The atmosphere changed instantly. Conro silenced them and bowed with the 7th company asking for Shimon's orders. Shimon laughed, saying all of you start hitting each other. It doesn't matter who's real or fake. The 7th company will handle the Infernals. Everyone got excited and started actually fighting with all their strength. On the other side, Heron had turned into an infernal, saying this area is powerful, and there's a high chance a demon will appear. But why not me? Suddenly horns grew from his head, and he turned into a demon. Shimon saw what happened from his place in the sky, and got excited that he found a worthy opponent. Shinra was shocked at the sight of the demon before him, remembering it looked like the one that invaded his house when he was a child. Suddenly Haran rushed at him, and Arthur pushed Shinra away, blocking the strike. But he couldn't withstand it, and kept being forced back. Shinra's leg reacted to the demon, and turned skeletal with a horn sound echoing from it. He grew tense, not understanding what was happening. Arrow was shocked, and said, "That's an Adolla Link. You truly don't belong to the fire force. You're a demon, and that flame of yours is a flame that destroys people." Arthur, who was blown away by Haran, interrupted, asking Shinra to help him. Shinra looked beside him and didn't see Arrow. Haran threw a large fireball at him and Arthur. Haran punched Shinra with flames. Arthur attacked with his sword, but was surprised it didn't pierce because Haran's body was incredibly solid. Suddenly a fireball hit Haran's face, fired by Shimon, who placed 2 burning brooms beside Haran, saying, "I'm your opponent." He told Shinra and Arthur not to interfere in this fight, because of what happened in the past, and the demon that caused Conroe's burns. The demon then rushed toward him at full speed. At the same time, Hina, Maki, and Tamaki were searching for Hika. They found her igniting the men who tricked her and didn't give her candy. Hina confronted her, and they both transformed into firefoxes, burning down the kidnappers together. A fierce clash began between Shimon and Haran. Shimon blocked all of his attacks easily with his hands and threw him away. Haran launched a fireball at him and Shimon blocked it effortlessly. Arthur and Shinra were stunned by Shimon's power. Shimon charged toward Haran, intending to extinguish him, but was surprised at how unnaturally tough he was. He remembered that Conroe back then had created a massive crater in the ground with his flames to defeat the demon, so he knew he needed that much power to stop him. He grabbed a broom and flew toward Haran, taking him up into the sky. Meanwhile, Conroe saw Arrow on a rooftop aiming at Shimon. He tried to stop her with his flames, but grew too exhausted, and fell from a high place unable to move. He remembered when Shinra told him to rely on him, and shouted his name at the top of his lungs. Shinra didn't hear him, but felt a pulse through the flames in his leg. Sensing what Conroe wanted, he looked to the sky, and saw an arrow heading toward Shimon, flying at full speed to catch it, accelerating faster and faster. Arrow was surprised by his speed and controlled the arrow with her eyes so Shinra couldn't change its course. But Shinra struggled against the arrow with his leg, saying to himself, "My flame is a flame that protects people, and I will be a hero." He pushed himself until he finally deflected the arrow. Shimon reached a high altitude and released Haran, then turned back. He fired burning brooms at him, then struck him hard with fire, but it still didn't finish him. So he said, "I'll borrow your technique." Conroe pulled back and lunged at Haran with his palm, thrusting massive flames that vaporized him completely. Shinra saw Shimon falling from the sky and caught him. Shimon told him, "I've used up all my strength," and the 7th company had extinguished all the infernals in the town. The next day the town's repairs began again. Afterward, Shimon thanked the 8th company for everything, and told them, "From now on I'm with you." On the other side, Arrow and Yona arrived at the headquarters of the White-Clad Knights of the Ashen Flame, reporting to their leader Shu, Shinra's brother, that Haran was dead. Yona continued, "But a new demon was also born here." Arrow said, "We confirmed that the Adolla Burst possessed by the 8th company's recruit is linked to the demon." Shu replied, "I want him at any cost. That's what the Evangelist needs. It would be a waste to leave him in the fire force." He drew his sword and decided to go out himself this time. At the same time, Obi entered the 8th company's headquarters angry, after hearing from Hibana that a new member was being forced to join them. She also told him Hijima said the 8th company couldn't stay without a science division, so they stormed the place by force. When he reached his office, he found Victor, Joker's assistant, waiting for him there. Though no one knew that fact yet, Victor told them the Empire had ordered all companies to strengthen their forensic divisions. Obi replied, "It's true, our science team is lacking and we were searching, but Captain Hibana of the 5th company is helping us until we find one." Victor said, "But you can't rely on another company's captain forever. That's why I came from Hijima." He introduced himself and stood to salute. Hibana felt he was suspicious. Hanawa embarrassed him, saying, "The salute is with your right hand." But Victor acted normally. As soon as he saw Shinra, he jumped excitedly, saying, "Since I'm part of the science team, show me your leg." Shinra tried to back away and Hibana stopped him from touching him. Then Victor noticed the company didn't have an engineer either, asking who maintains your vehicles and equipment. Obi replied, "We've heard of a great engineer named Vulcan." He asked Hanawa, "Did you contact him?" Hanawa said he didn't answer. Hibana was surprised they wanted to recruit that man, because every company had tried and he refused them all. Hanawa said, "Then we'll have to visit his workshop." Hibana warned them not to do that because he hates Hijima completely, meaning he surely hates the Fire Force too since they deal with it. Obi thought and ordered Shinra and Arthur to take Iris with them, go see him, and make sure he's suitable for the 8th company. Victor watched, noticing that the 8th company was different from the others who tried to win Vulcan over with money and prestige. Later they went to Vulcan and found him living in a scrapyard. They stood at his door introducing themselves. The door opened and a mechanical hand threw a soda can at Shinra's head, then another at Arthur. They got really annoyed but were interrupted by a boy named Yu who introduced himself. He guessed they came to recruit Vulcan into the fire force. He called to Vulcan from behind the door saying he brought the materials he requested. Vulcan came out and when they called to him he threw more soda cans at them, saying I'll never help anyone from the fire force. Get out of here. Yu told them many people from Hibana and the fire force came trying to recruit him, but he refused them all. Because of that, Hibana interfered with his work and made the traders he dealt with stop supplying him materials. Yet I think there's another reason for his hatred of Hibana and the fire force. Shinra confidently said we're the 8th company, not like the others. So please convince him just to listen to us at least. You noticed they were truly different from the others and let them into the workshop without Vulcan's permission. They saw a woman named Lisa living with Vulcan. They watched him working and were amazed by his skills. When he saw them he called to Yu to bring soda for the guests. Shinra thanked him but Vulcan suddenly threw a can at him saying in your dreams, what are you doing here? They were interrupted by an alarm, and Lisa told Vulcan that person came again. He went outside to find Giovanni standing there. Shinra was shocked. Vulcan asked Giovanni angrily, you were the one who stopped my supply line, right? Giovanni replied coldly, so you finally realized you can't achieve anything with just blueprints. Enough stubbornness, join the 3rd company. We have all the tools you need. Vulcan replied furiously, I'll never work under your command. Giovanni threatened, this is your final warning. Vulcan asked, are you going to kill me like you killed my father and grandfather? Giovanni changed the subject, asking, are you still chasing your foolish dream? Vulcan shouted, don't mock my dreams after you left for power and money, and walked away. When Shinra entered he asked, are they pressuring you? Telling him the 8th company was founded to investigate the other companies. We're different from those under outside organizations, and we truly want to save people. That's why we want your help. Suddenly Arthur touched a strange gadget, and water sprayed out. Iris saw buttons around and was drawn to them, pressing them. Vulcan tried to stop her, but she couldn't resist and activated his strange weapons and inventions. Vulcan laughed, realizing they were indeed different from the others, and decided to show them his favorite invention made by his father. They went outside the workshop, and he activated it, turning the surroundings into an ocean full of fish. They were amazed. He changed the scene to a forest with animals and birds. Iris cried from the beauty of what she saw. Vulcan told them about his dream to create an energy source that would bring the world back to life and restore extinct animals. Shinra was thrilled by his words, realizing he was a perfect fit for the 8th company and shared their ideals. Shinra told him, I'm sure you'll love our team. Could you come meet our captain, even just once? But Vulcan refused, saying he didn't want to work under Hibana no matter what. Lisa looked upset, saying he's always like this. Shinra asked, how long have you been with him? She told him when she was little her parents turned into Infernals, so she ran away and hid in a truck in the scrapyard, and he found her and took care of her. She said he loves helping others. Arthur saw a grave in the scrapyard and asked about it. You said it was the grave of his father and grandfather, who had turned into Infernals. Shinra asked, is Vulcan suspicious of Giovanni? You said Vulcan's grandfather had 2 apprentices, Vulcan and Giovanni. After they both died under strange circumstances, Giovanni went to work for Hibana, even though their teacher had forbidden it no matter what. And that's probably because Vulcan's family has a long history with Hibana. Lisa asked them to give up because he'd never agree no matter what, and Yu apologized to them. Suddenly Shinra heard the horn sound again, feeling the same vibration in his leg he felt when Conro called for help. But this time he sensed murderous intent coming from Giovanni. He told Arthur and Iris, we can't leave here. The next day Vulcan placed 2 soda cans in front of his father and grandfather's grave, because they loved them. He sat for a while talking to them, assuring them that work was going well, and that he had a family now, Yu and Lisa. Then he went back into the workshop and talked with Yu about how inventions must be durable and unbreakable, unlike the Amaterasu project that powers the whole city. Afterward Lisa called them for dinner, saying the food was ready. When they sat down, Vulcan told them, we're a family and our bonds won't break no matter what. They both replied, of course. On the other side, Shinra had told Iris and Arthur about Giovanni's murderous intent, and although Arthur didn't completely believe him, they decided to take precautions. Shinra told them, go tell Vulcan and convince him, while I look for Giovanni and see what I can find. At the same time Giovanni stood with 2 people telling them, go kill Vulcan, but first take off those fake fire soldier uniforms. When they removed them it turned out they were from the White-Clad knights named Flail and Mirage. Arthur and Iris reached Vulcan's workshop and warned him about what was going to happen, but he didn't believe them because he hated them so much that he wanted to kill them himself. At that moment Yu looked through a gap in the door and saw the workshop surrounded by soldiers, all in white. Vulcan was surprised they brought such numbers for him even though he had no abilities. Arthur wondered what Shinra was doing all this time. Meanwhile Shinra was in the forest puzzled by how quiet the place was with no one around. Giovanni suddenly appeared extending his mechanical arm and choking him. Shinra used his flames on his leg and escaped his grip. Giovanni fired his arm again, but Shinra dodged this time and followed the cable to find its source, but found nothing because Giovanni was up in a tree launching 2 wires from his back electrocuting Shinra. But the electricity didn't affect him. Giovanni asked in shock, "Are you a monster or what? This is 2 million volts." He increased the current and this time Shinra couldn't handle it and lost consciousness. Giovanni informed the White-Clad that he found the Adolla Burst user and told them to come get him, saying all that's left now is to get the Amaterasu key from Vulcan. At the same time Vulcan told Iris and Arthur, "You're fire soldiers. Do something." Arthur replied, "I don't have the proper gear to use my power. And in this outfit I don't feel any chivalry so I can't do anything." Vulcan thought of how to make him feel knightly, and Arthur explained how his sword was made. So Vulcan built him a similar sword. Flail told Mirage, "Stay where you are and don't lift the siege at all. I'll go in and kill him." But suddenly Arthur appeared wearing a ridiculous outfit with a plastic donkey head between his legs. Despite his appearance Arthur imagined himself as a true knight riding a horse, and felt more heroic than ever. He drew his plasma sword and Iris was surprised it was much stronger than his previous one. Arthur slashed a fiery wave from afar with his sword vaporizing all the siege soldiers, revealing that Mirage was creating illusions with his fire abilities. Flail was shocked since no one had informed them there'd be someone like that in the workshop. He grabbed a handle with a chain and pumped fire into it, turning it into a fiery hammer. He swung it and charged at Arthur, aiming it at him, but Arthur blocked it. Mirage created clones that jumped at him but Arthur vaporized them all. Flail attacked again and Arthur broke the fire into just a chain. Vulcan was stunned that Arthur was that strong despite looking so dumb. Suddenly Mirage created a clone identical to Arthur standing in front of him. Arthur was shocked at how strange and stupid he looked. He lost the sense of chivalry he had felt and became much weaker. Flail hit him with the hammer sending him flying. As he flew Arthur realized what he thought was a horse was actually a donkey and was even more shocked. He lay on the ground in despair, but he regained his courage, grabbed the handle, and filled it with flames again, though it was weaker than before because his chivalry had faded. Vulcan tried to use the situation, telling Lisa and Yu to escape through the back door while the siege was broken. Lisa refused, saying we're family and must stay together. Vulcan said, "I can't run and leave Arthur fighting here for me." She asked, "Why are they after you?" He replied, "I don't know, but Hajime took everything from me. My family and my technology." Yu was surprised by the word technology and Vulcan shocked him by saying that Amaterasu itself was originally created by his family, but Hajime stole it. He asked Lisa and Yu to take the vehicle he built and escape quickly. Suddenly Lisa fired flames at him, making him fall to the ground. Yu asked in shock, "What are you doing?" She shot him too, threatening Iris that she'd kill them if she interfered, revealing the shocking truth that she was actually a servant of the Evangelist and had been spying on him all along, that when he found her as a child it had been a trick. With a terrifying look she told him, "Give me the Amaterasu key." But Vulcan didn't understand what she was talking about. Still shocked and unable to believe her words, she started hitting him, demanding he tell her where the key was, saying Giovanni was on his way, and if he didn't tell her he'd kill him. Giovanni indeed arrived outside, passing Arthur, who was still fighting Mirage and Flail alone, and unable to beat them. Giovanni entered the workshop and asked Vulcan was the family game with Lisa fun. Vulcan got furious and Giovanni ordered him to give him the key. Vulcan shouted angrily, "I don't even know what key you're talking about. I don't have anything." Giovanni extended his hand and strangled Yu to make Vulcan talk, but Vulcan truly didn't know where the key was. Giovanni fired a bullet at Yu, saying, "I shot him in a bad spot, but he's got some time left. You can still save him. Tell me where the key is." Vulcan gave the same answer, begging him not to take his family from him again. Giovanni got angry, hitting him repeatedly with his staff, finally realizing Vulcan really knew nothing about the key, then destroyed Vulcan's favorite invention right before his eyes. Iris screamed at Giovanni to stop what he was doing, but after the invention was completely destroyed, a flash drive fell out of it. It was the Amaterasu key. Meanwhile, Shinra opened his eyes, finding himself tied up with Hibana in front of him. She told him she activated the listening device she had placed on Iris, so she came. She untied him and Shinra immediately rushed toward the workshop. As he approached, flying, he asked Arthur what's the situation. Arthur replied, "Get inside the workshop quickly." Shinra dove at Mirage, vaporizing the fake copy and punching the real Mirage, dodging Flail and entering the workshop, kicking Giovanni's mask hard with his knee. Mirage created more clones surrounding Arthur, who grew annoyed from vaporizing them repeatedly. Suddenly all the copies disappeared due to Hibana's arrival and her manipulation of air temperature. Lisa erupted magma from the ground, aiming it at Shinra. At the same time Giovanni struck him with his launching mechanical hand. Lisa grabbed him and Giovanni kept hitting. Vulcan told Iris press the buttons on the wall. Each button she pressed released mechanical animals from the ceiling that attacked Giovanni and Lisa. One of the robotic creatures hit Hibana, disrupting her ability. At the same time Lisa's power also stopped because it worked through magnetic fields and the machines interfered. Shinra lunged at Giovanni, kicking him out of the workshop. He followed him outside, but suddenly felt the vibration in his leg again. Then looked ahead and saw Shu asking, "Are you the one who linked with me just just now. Shinra approached, smiling with a joy Shu couldn't understand. Shinra excitedly asked, "You're Shu, my little brother, right?" Overjoyed, Shinra said, "Finally I can fulfill my promise to Mom," telling him, "No matter what, I'll protect you. And of course I'm on your side." Shu used a strange ability that made him appear behind Shinra in an instant, as if time itself had stopped, thinking to himself, "Now I understand what the Evangelist meant when he said I'd know when I met him. This man is my older brother. I feel disgusted." He quickly hit Shinra in the stomach with the back of his sword. Shinra fell to his knees and Shu placed his blade on his neck, saying, "You're coming with us, Adolla Burst user." Arthur ran toward him to save Shinra. Shu used his power again, instantly slashing Arthur's chest. Shinra stood up, but Shu immediately struck him again with the back of his sword, sending him to the ground. Shinra was confused that he couldn't even see the sword move, and then he lost consciousness. Shu ordered Mirage and Flail to take Shinra and kill the others. He asked where the device was. Giovanni opened his mask, saying, "Here's the key." Suddenly Vulcan and the others arrived in a truck driven by Victor. They grabbed Shinra and Arthur. Despite what Lisa had done, Vulcan reached his hand out to take her with them, but she refused. In an instant Shu appeared in front of the truck. Sensing an attack, he jumped aside quickly and Joker appeared. They clashed briefly. Shu asked, "You're Joker, right?" Joker replied, "Looks like I've become famous." Shu used his ability moving at extreme speed, but surprisingly Joker matched it. Shu told him not to interfere. Joker replied, "There's no fun in letting you, or the Fire Force, do whatever you please." When he saw the others had escaped, he left Shu and walked away. Shu stood there with his sword broken, surprised he had done that without even using an Adolla Link. Meanwhile the others reached the hospital. Shu, meaning Obi, called the captain to inform him of everything that happened. Afterward Obi went to sit beside Vulcan, comforting him, and asked him to come to the 8th Company's headquarters, since it would be safer for him. Vulcan agreed, saying, "There's nothing in this world that can't be fixed. You is strong and he'll recover well, and I'll bring Lisa back again." Shinra agreed with him, promising to help no matter what. At the same time Hibana stood with Victor, suspiciously asking, "How did you show up at exactly the right time?" He replied, "I felt they were late so I came to check." She said, "Maybe you were the one who brought those enemies with you." He answered, "Impossible. I'm the one who saved you." She threatened that if he did anything strange she'd kill him. Later they all went to the 8th Company's headquarters and had lunch together. Captain Obi told Vulcan, "Maybe Shinra already told you, but our goal in the 8th Company is to save the planet and its people. I understand your family's rules, but would you join the company?" Telling him, "You have every right to refuse, of course. Either way will protect you, but think carefully." The next day Vulcan went to the workshop, placing soda cans in front of his father and grandfather's grave, apologizing to them that he would break the family vow and join the Fire Force. After a few days Karim and Conroe came to the 8th Company headquarters to discuss with Obi and Hibana the information they had so far and make a plan. Conroe started saying, "We only just learned about the White-Clad group, so we still don't have much data." Obi told them about the Amaterasu key and Giovanni, explaining that Hajime announced someone had impersonated him wearing his mask and did all that, but Vulcan confirmed to them the man who attacked them was the real Giovanni. They concluded that Hajime said that to protect the reputation of their division, Karim said their crimes would only worsen, so they had to move and find their base. Obi replied that Victor from his team was already working on locating it, saying the 8th Company's goal now was to pinpoint the Evangelist's location and strike. Hibana sarcastically asked, "And you already have a plan for that attack?" Obi answered, "I've witnessed the strength of the new recruits in our company, but they lack experience, especially in close combat." Conroe said, "I have someone who does nothing in his life except fight." He called Shimon and asked him to train Arthur and Shinra. Meanwhile Victor was in the forest collecting samples from traces of White-Clad battles. Joker was with him asking, "So you really joined the Fire Force?" Victor replied casually, "Well, we're heroes of justice now." Joker told him, "You won't be able to defeat them even if you find their base. The power their leader Shu has comes from a direct link with the Evangelist." At the same time Shinra entered Shimon's house. Suddenly Shimon appeared behind him, placing a stick on his neck, saying, "If this were a real fight, you'd already be dead." He gave both him and Arthur their first advice: never drop your guard. Arthur mocked him, so Shimon threw the stick at his head. Back at the 8th Company headquarters Vulcan showed Obi a device he built that extinguished flames using magnetic force. Then we returned to Shinra and Arthur, who were tense waiting for Shimon to strike at any moment. He told them, "You can't afford to get nervous on the battlefield," then ordered them to fight him with killing intent. He began training with them, blocking all their attacks easily, saying, "Your power is decent, but like this, you'll never hit me. You need an element of surprise, a special technique." Shinra got excited and Shimon hit him for letting his guard down. Victor entered, introducing himself to Shimon, telling him, "I have an idea for a special technique for Shinra, compressing and focusing his flames." Shimon demonstrated the concept in front of Shinra, blasting backward with great force. Shinra was impressed and Shimon told him to train with that, then told Arthur, "You already have a special technique, but need to practice the basics. Attack me with killing intent." Conroe told Victor, "You don't seem like someone from the 8th Company. Are you really from Hajime?" Victor sarcastically asked, "Am I too smart to be part of the 8th Company?" Conroe threatened that if he ever hurt the 8th Company he'd destroy him? Victor nervously replied, of course I wouldn't dare. Shinra tried to compress the flames from his leg, but failed and crashed on his head, thinking to himself, I control my altitude with my toes, so if I move them I lose balance. My facial expressions aren't helping either. He started thinking and tried again, watching Shimon fight Arthur, noticing Shimon's specific hand movements that helped him control his flames. Meanwhile Maki was playing with her cute fireballs. Hanawa grabbed her head angrily saying, how many times have I told you a fire soldier doesn't play with flames? She replied, this time I'm not playing. Vulcan interrupted saying he had built 2 flying hammers with a slot where Maki could place her fireballs to control them. At the same time Shinra tried using different hand and facial gestures to compress his flames, but they kept exploding. Shimon looked at him and came over telling him to try again in front of him. Shinra did and Shimon asked him to remove his gloves, explaining that hand signals take different shapes and each one affects differently. He showed him a specific gesture that strengthens the leg. Shinra tried it, and it worked. He blasted into the sky instantly. Shimon watched him, and at that moment Arthur attacked silently, but Shimon still blocked it. When Shinra landed, Shimon ordered him to attack with full strength. Shinra's strikes were now faster and sharper. As the sun set, Arthur was exhausted, so Shimon decided to end training. Days passed as they continued training until their power grew tremendously. The next day Shinra and Arthur returned to headquarters. Captain Obi told the whole team they had found the White-Clad's base. Everyone was shocked to learn it was underground in a restricted area. Locals told stories to their children about how terrifying that place was. He told them, we're going there tomorrow, and our lives will be on the line. At sunrise the company moved to the entry point leading underground. Shinra looked at Iris, worried, not knowing what might happen to her. When they arrived they all stood before the gate afraid to descend. Suddenly the door opened by itself, and they all jumped in fear, but discovered Vulcan had stepped on the button. They entered cautiously where Yona and Mirage were waiting. Suddenly thick smoke filled the area, blinding the team. Mirage created illusions of them to confuse and separate them. In the end Captain Obi was left alone with Vulcan, Tamaki with Iris. At the same time the White-Clad informed Shu that the team had been scattered, and Arrow moved to intercept them. Maki was alone and terrified. Flail appeared with 5 knights. She calmed down seeing they were humans, not ghosts. The first knight charged at her, so she grabbed him, slamming his head into the ground, then prepared her hammers that Vulcan had made. They fired rounds at her, but she blocked every shot with her hands. Realizing bullets were useless, they launched flaming rocks instead. She struggled but deflected them, and sent her hammers flying, taking down 2 more knights. Another one rushed her, and she struck him with her hand, finishing him with a blow to the head. The next one she kneed and smashed down with her hammer, killing him. Only Flail was left. He drew his massive hammer, charging at her. Maki dodged 2 swings, but the third came down hard. She resisted, controlling the flames, executed a pincer strike with her hammers, then quickly punched him in the stomach. One punch and both hammers disfigured his face, but he stayed standing, taunting her. She grabbed his head and smashed it into the ground with all her strength. At the same time Captain Hanawa was walking through the smoke ready for any attack, but suddenly a strong flaming arrow hit him, melting his fireproof suit. He grabbed his gun and hid behind a stone pillar, then heard Arrow's voice saying, the one with the Adolla Burst doesn't belong to you. Good thing you brought him to us yourselves. You saved us a lot of effort. He aimed toward her, asking, what do you want from Shinra? Meanwhile Shinra found Victor being threatened by one of the White-Clad knights holding a sword to his neck. Shinra made the hand sign he learned from Shimon. In an instant he placed his foot on the knight and took him down. Afterward he heard Hanawa's gunfire and decided to search for the others and fight alongside them. Hanawa fired randomly since he couldn't see Arrow in the darkness, bouncing his bullets off the walls, hoping to hit her but failing. Arrow shot an arrow at the pillar he hid behind. Realizing his position was exposed, he moved into a train car running toward her from inside. Mirage and Yona watched, waiting for the right moment to attack Hanawa. Suddenly Arrow fired again, so Hanawa closed the train door, but the arrow's force blasted it open. Even so he stood up and exited the train. She fired another arrow but missed. Hanawa hid behind another pillar and opened a case full of weapons. He grabbed a rifle and fired a powerful shot that shook the place, melting the gun barrel. He replaced it and fired again. Arrow kept firing her arrows, though bleeding from his shots. Both continued exchanging fire until Hanawa could barely stand or open his eyes. He looked at Arrow, seeing her rise again, then looked at the 8th Company emblem on his shoulder, deciding not to give up, and stood up. She released an arrow and he fired a bullet. He decided to let his bullet get close to her arrow, and used his flames to boost its speed, finally striking Arrow down. Exhausted, he leaned against a pillar. Fog gathered around him. Mirage and Yona appeared. Mirage drew a knife, saying, I'll finish you. Hanawa fired a bullet upward, then guided it with his flames into Mirage's forehead, but it was just missed, and the real Mirage appeared, saying, you missed. Hanawa replied, no, I hit my target. The ceiling broke and Arthur fell through. Hanawa had seen his shadow through a hole in the ceiling. Mirage made more copies surrounding Arthur, sending them to attack, but Arthur's senses had sharpened. He no longer got nervous or distracted by illusions. He remembered Shimon's training on sensing living presence. Mirage hesitated to attack. Suddenly Arthur turned and sliced the pillar Hanawa was leaning on. Hanawa yelled angrily, you'll kill me just to show off! Arthur replied, don't worry, I'm not that stupid. Sensing Mirage behind the pillar sneaking to stab Hanawa from behind, Yona quickly fled the area. Elsewhere Maki appeared before Tamaki and Iris, calming them since she was now with them, and would protect them. Meanwhile Vulcan and Obi encountered Giovanni and Lisa on their path. Lisa looked down ashamed asking what are you doing here? Giovanni replied I came to see you of course. He said mockingly what's wrong Feler? Don't forget who cared for you and taught you to play with fire and with men. All you did was use what I taught you to get close to Vulcan. Lisa gathered her strength forming magma tentacles shaped like an octopus saying my real name is Feler, and I am one of the White-Clad knights. She attacked Vulcan but Obi blocked with the magnetic sphere. Giovanni told him an ignorant and powerless man like you shouldn't be here. Unlike you our Evangelist knows everything. The cause of human combustion, the insects that trigger artificial ignition, the secret of the Adolla Burst inside Shinra, and the truth of what happened to this world in the past and what's happening now. And of course I won't tell you any of it. Feler grabbed Vulcan and Obi squeezing them tightly. Giovanni laughed mockingly saying Feler's strength emerged because she's compatible with the insects. Feler said my parents died in a fire caused by Infernals, and since then I've been terrified of flames. But thanks to the insects the fear disappeared and fire started protecting me. Obi used the magnetic sphere freeing himself and Vulcan, charging at Giovanni but Feler blocked him. He pulled out a fire extinguisher spraying it over her magma. Feler mocked him yet he didn't stop using it. Suddenly he pressed a button detonating a compound under her that extinguished intense flames, shutting down all the magma she controlled. Vulcan caught her quickly before she fell. Feler cried and Vulcan wiped her tears, but Giovanni terrified her again as usual asking who saved you and let you stay with Vulcan, reminding her don't forget you owe me. Forced by fear Feler stood apologizing to Vulcan saying she couldn't betray the one who helped her after she lost everything. Suddenly Giovanni tied her neck with a strong wire, throwing a gun to Vulcan telling him if you want her to live shoot Obi. Obi told Vulcan do it. Vulcan got furious promising Giovanni he'd kill him. He picked up the gun and shot Obi. Giovanni laughed cruelly thinking he chose his friend over his captain, releasing Feler. Obi stood lifting the rods under Giovanni's feet. Giovanni said in shock firefighter suits are fireproof not bulletproof. Obi laughed and Vulcan replied I'd never let my captain go unprotected against bullets. Metal armor and a bird-like helmet extended from Vulcan's outfit. He told Giovanni let's see which is stronger your invention or mine. He charged swiftly dodging Giovanni's shots and struck him hard breaking him, then rushed to Feler to check on her. Obi attacked Giovanni again asking what's your goal and who is the Evangelist. Giovanni replied 250 years ago a great disaster occurred, caused by the Adolla Burst. Obi said no matter the cause of human combustion our mission is to stop it. Meanwhile Shinra felt a strong vibration in his leg. Suddenly the ground beneath him turned black and a dark skeleton touched him. Then from underground emerged the demon that had appeared in his house when he was a child, the one linking him and Sho. Shinra snapped out of the vision and saw black footprints on the floor, realizing this was the path leading to Sho. At the same time Giovanni told Obi the Adolla Burst within Shinra was now connecting to Commander Shu. Obi was shocked asking what exactly is the Adolla Burst. Giovanni replied the Adolla Burst is a special flame that can affect all forms of heat. It's the step beyond fire control, the eternal flame behind human combustion. Obi asked about the insects that turn people into infernals. Giovanni said they come from the same place where the Adolla Burst originated. Shinra reached Shu telling him I came just like I promised. Shu asked promised who? Shinra replied our mother. Shu said I have no mother. The thought that we might be brothers disgusts me. Shinra got angry moving closer saying, don't talk like that about our mother. Shu pushed him, and suddenly both vanished before Victor's eyes. Their clash was so fast he couldn't see them, until suddenly Shu's sword was stabbed into the wall pinning Shinra's clothes, as Shinra held the blade. Shu continued striking Shinra. Shinra matched his speed flipping and throwing him, diving in to follow but Shu raised his sword blocking him. Suddenly Shu planted his sword in the ground stopping time, then hit Shinra slamming him into a pillar. Victor was shocked realizing he had stopped time using heat, trying to figure out how that was possible, until Shu said no matter how fast you are you'll never match me, because we exist in different universes. Victor was even more stunned understanding this meant Shu was using enough heat to expand the universe itself, stopping time. Terrified he shouted to Shinra we have to escape now. Suddenly the Adolla Link activated and Shinra and Shu were transported into a world with a black ground. Shu told Shinra the Adolla Burst is the original flame and still a mystery. But what you see here, this black ground and the black fire, is connected to the Adolla Link. Shinra asked so the Adolla Burst is a flame from this dimension. Then how do I have a flame from another dimension while I'm still on Earth? Shu replied because it's an energy that can affect everything. Shinra asked angrily you mean human spontaneous combustion is caused by this strange world we're standing in? Shu replied yes. Suddenly behind Shu appeared a strange figure in white surrounded by a yellow ring. Shu said to Shinra the person behind me is the Evangelist. Shinra asked furiously are you the one using Sho to burn humans? A vibration appeared in Sho's eye, and they both returned to their original world. Shu drew his sword saying with the power of the Evangelist and the link between us I can influence anything. Your Adolla Burst could never match me. Shinra dashed at him but Shu stopped time moving around him, suddenly appeared beside him knocking him far away. Shinra got up, and in a blink Shu's sword was against his chest. Shinra tried to grab the sword but Shu vanished and reappeared behind him kicking him, then appeared in front again striking him in the face with the back of the sword, vanished once more, and came down from above stabbing his back. Even so Shinra refused to give up and charged again. Shu kicked him slamming him into a pillar. Shinra stood again saying let's play a game of chase. The Adolla Link showed an image of them as children playing together. With incredible speed Shinra managed to cut Shu's cheek. Shu was surprised and Shinra realized his speed would increase too if he gained the Evangelist's power like Shu. He launched himself again thinking how to obtain it. Shu struck him with the sword and Shinra barely stopped himself. But Shu followed hitting him again in the face with the sword's back. Shinra tried recalling the vibrations he felt from Conro and Giovanni and fired his flames with full power. Shu met him with a sword strike to the stomach. Shinra grew weaker but still advanced and Shu attacked again, asking why keep going when you know this won't work. Shinra replied the image of your face as a child is chasing me, then burst forward faster than ever before. His body particles began to disassemble, and at that instant Shu stopped time, but didn't see Shinra anywhere, and looked around confused realizing he might have entered his frozen world. Time resumed and suddenly Shinra crashed into a pillar breaking it, because he couldn't control his new speed. Shu asked in shock how did you do that? Shinra replied confidently I think I'm close to reaching your speed. Another Adolla Link activated and Shu felt a headache. Seeing another memory of Shinra playing with him, when they were little, Shinra repeated the same move breaking another pillar. Victor panicked because Shinra was moving almost at the speed of light, terrified that if he continued he'd reverse time and create a black hole destroying the world, yet his scientific curiosity and obsession made him stay silent to witness it happen. Shinra stood up and Shu stopped time again before he could repeat the move, approaching to finish it but suddenly Shinra moved and punched him. Shu asked how did you do that, without the Evangelist's power? Shinra replied it's like what happened with Conro and Giovanni. If my emotions are strong enough I can connect with you. You and the Evangelist are linked, so I'm linked to him indirectly. The two clashed again this time at equal speed and Shinra managed to wound him, but Victor and Yona couldn't see anything happening in front of them. Suddenly Shinra stopped in place bleeding heavily from his mouth. Victor called out to him yelling enough. If you overheat while using that ability your body will break apart, and you'll die. Shinra smiled nervously, and with fear deciding he wouldn't stop until he achieved his goal. The battle between them continued, and with every clash Shinra's memories slipped into Shu's mind, showing him playing together when they were little. It grew stronger until Shu saw Shinra's memories at school, where everyone shunned him calling him a demon, and his memories of joining the 8th Company, and always thinking about him. Shu got angry shouting, what's the point of showing me these memories? I'm not your brother. Shinra replied we're the same. How did we always smile when we were kids and now we can't? Shu said I have no past and I don't need one. At that moment a memory appeared before him of himself as a baby crying in front of the Evangelist. He was confused because he had forgotten it completely. Shinra continued 12 years ago we were a family, and we smiled all the time. We were happy until the fire broke out in our house. A memory of their mother appeared saying I love you both so much. Shu was shocked realizing that was his mother. Another memory came of him as a child crying, because the wind blew a newspaper onto his face. Shinra came, removed it and comforted him saying I'll never leave you. Shu cried as Shinra approached, placing his hand on his head, saying I'm sorry for leaving you alone all this time, hugging him and saying, let's leave this place and go to the light. But suddenly Shu was shocked to see his sword had pierced Shinra's body unintentionally. He backed away terrified and Shinra said, don't worry it's not your fault. Then a girl named Haumea appeared, one of the Evangelist's followers, who also possessed an Adolla Burst like Shu and Shinra. She said to Shu we can't let him die, because we need him so I'll take him with me. Shinra shouted angrily you're the ones who kidnapped Shu. What do you want to do with the Adolla Bursts? She replied the disaster from 250 years ago failed, so we're gathering the Adolla Burst to try again. That's why we create fire users using the insects and search for more Adolla Bursts. We need both you and Shu for that. Yona appeared angrily asking why did you tell them? Haumea answered it doesn't matter. Even if they know, they can't stop us. She ran toward Shinra to take him, but Shu stood in her way saying tell me what happened 12 years ago first. Haumea replied make me tell you. Shu tried to stop time but was shocked that it didn't, meaning the Adolla Link with the Evangelist was severed. Haumea used a strange power that made him lose consciousness. Suddenly he stood up again still dazed, and walked forward. Shinra shouted angrily what did you do to him? She pressed the sword still stuck in him, saying let's leave this place. Suddenly a bullet hit her back, but didn't harm her. It was Hanawa who fired it. Arthur rushed forward slashing her away with his sword. Shinra warned him she uses a strange technique. Arthur replied shut up so you don't die. Haumea used her ability on Arthur, but it didn't work. Arthur mocked her saying a scare tactic. How pathetic. Fight me for real. Haumea realized the plasma from his sword disrupted her electrical signals. Maki launched her hammers at her, but the electrical signals stopped them too. Hanawa fired bullets to distract her while the others carried Shinra. Haumea sent an electric signal at Hanawa, but Arthur blocked it with his plasma blade. Haumea grew furious at him since she'd never met anyone who used plasma before. Suddenly Obi smashed a column and dropped it on her, but she narrowly dodged. Then a massive earthquake struck, caused by the Evangelist. The whole place began collapsing. Haumea left them and disappeared. They all escaped while the quake continued shaking all of Tokyo. Shinra's condition was critical, and he kept calling Shu's name. Obi tried to calm him saying, "We need to treat you first so we can find Shu again," telling Hanawa there's only one person who can save him. They took him to the Fire Force Medical Center to the best doctor in the world, a third-generation fire user named Kyoko. Before she entered the operating room, Obi asked, "Can you save him?" She replied, "Honestly, his condition is severe. Even if he survives, he might be paralyzed. I've never treated a soldier with an Adolla Burst before, so I don't know what'll happen." Obi said, "He's very precious to me. Please do whatever it takes." Kyoko entered first, removing the sword from his body. She told her assistants, "I'm not sure I can heal this wound. It depends on his own flames." She used her ability, forming a serpent of blue fire on her hand, and lowered it over him. After an hour, Shinra's body ignited and Kyoko said, "His flame is beautiful. There shouldn't be any problem. The Adolla Burst really is amazing. I used up all his flame for recovery, so it'll take a few days for him to wake." 3 days later, Shinra woke up pale and starving, but all he could think about was Shu. Captain Leonardo of the first company entered saying, "I'm glad you're alright." Shinra asked, "Why are you here?" Leonardo replied, "I came to see you." Shinra was surprised he came all that way for a second-class fire soldier from the 8th Company. Leonardo said, "I want to talk to you about the fire 12 years ago. Change your clothes and let's talk." He had brought him food, so Shinra ate quickly. Suddenly Leonardo said, "You've grown." Shinra looked at him sharply, replying, "So you knew me 12 years ago? And as I thought you're the firefighter who was holding my hand that day." Leonardo replied, "Yes. If I had told the truth about that fire, people wouldn't have blamed you for your mother and brother's death." Shinra said, "I don't care what happened to me. Did you know Shu was still alive?" Leonardo answered, "Yes." Shinra asked, "And you knew the Evangelist took him?" He replied, "Yes." Shinra got furious, asking, "Then why didn't you save him? Why didn't you say anything? If I had known, I wouldn't have left Shu in the dark for 12 years. Leonardo pushed him back with fire, saying, "You grew up after 12 years and still almost died. Imagine what you could have done if I'd told you then." Shinra said, "I'm not the same person you met back then." Leonardo replied, "If that's true, then show me." Dr. Kyoko's assistant, Asako Ogo, came out along with 1st Company Lieutenant Onyango, and they saw Shinra attacking Leonardo. Leonardo was amazed by Shinra's speed, almost reaching the speed of light. Shinra kept attacking him with all his strength, but couldn't hit him even once. Asako shouted for him to stop, because he wasn't fully recovered yet, but Onyango silenced her, saying none of them would listen while they were fighting. Leonardo started taking the fight seriously, and surrounded himself with intense flames powerful enough to blow Shinra away. Shinra rushed at him again, but Leonardo blasted him back with his fire from afar, saying, "The weak die easily, and that's why I didn't tell you the truth then. If you want to hear it, make me tell you." Shinra formed the hand sign and charged at him, but couldn't break through Leonardo's wall of fire. Leonardo mocked him, saying, "Is that all you've got? You're like a tiny candle flame." Shinra got angrier, rushed even faster, broke through the barrier, and pressed his foot on Leonardo's arm, releasing fire. Leonardo asked, "Are you sure you won't regret hearing the truth?" Shinra replied, "I became a firefighter even though I hate fire because I want to know the truth." Leonardo looked at the burn marks on his arm and acknowledged Shinra's strength, deciding to tell him the truth. He said, "The group belonging to the Evangelist you fought was already active 12 years ago. Back in the past, Haumea was still a child standing on a rooftop near Shinra's house with a man named Charon, who asked her, 'Do you feel anything?' She answered excitedly, 'The Evangelist said a new Adolla Burst will be born in this area.' In the present, Leonardo said the cause of the fire was obviously not you." Shinra replied, "Right, there was a demon. But in the past a flame entered baby Shu's eye, and he ignited, burning down the entire house." Shinra began hearing his mother's screams telling him to run. That was when he saw a demon, but the shocking truth was that the demon was his mother after Shu transformed her, and at that moment Shinra's third-generation powers awakened. His mother searched desperately, calling for Shu throughout the burning house, and found him in the Evangelist's hands. From the Evangelist's terrifying power, she felt excruciating pain and burning in her eyes, so she tore off her horns and placed them over them. That's why all the Evangelist's followers keep their eyes covered. In the present, Shinra was shocked that the demon he'd hated his entire life and wanted to destroy was his own mother. He asked Leonardo, "What happened to my mother?" Leonardo said, "I arrived at the scene 15 minutes later. Strangely, the flames there wouldn't die down no matter how much water we used." Then Leonardo felt his right eye, the one covered by the bandage, react to the fire. He ordered his entire unit to go in and search for survivors, and they found Shinra, who told them Shu and his mother were still inside. Haumea was on the roof controlling Shinra's mother with electrical signals to make her bring Shu to her. When Leonardo entered and saw the demon, his right eye ignited, and immediately the demon emerged carrying Shu. Heading toward Haumea, Leonardo and his team escaped with Shinra. He thought angrily to himself, demon, and Adolla Burst. The flame in my right eye. It's the same as when I saw the light in the other world and burned. Why do they want that little boy? He looked at Shinra's legs, seeing he had awakened his flames, but they were still weak. Shinra kept screaming for his mother and brother. Leonardo stood before him saying, your mother and brother are dead. Back to the present, Shinra asked, why did you lie to me then? Leonardo said, to keep you away from it. At some point they might have come for you. I told you that lie so you'd fear the flames, hate them, and never use your powers, keeping you away from this world. Shinra replied sadly, I still hate it even now. Leonardo turned to leave, saying, I've done what I came for. Shinra stopped him, asking, did you know about the Adolla Link? Leonardo said yes. And my right eye was the price I paid to see the flame of destruction? Shinra asked the demon that appeared 12 years ago, did it have horns coming from its eyes? Leonardo said yes. Shinra asked, where did my mother go? He answered, I haven't seen her since that day. Shinra thought he could see his mother again through the Adolla Link and wondered how to activate it, then remembered he saw 4th Company Captain Ogo in the other world. Asako approached him, and he remembered her surname was Ogo. He asked, do you know Captain Ogo of the 4th? She replied, yes, he's my grandfather. He asked, can I meet him? She agreed. A few weeks later, Vulcan arrived in his truck to take Shinra back to the company. The whole way Vulcan talked, but Shinra couldn't respond. Vulcan said, even if you want to be quiet with me, don't act like that around the others. They're all worried about you. I know you're thinking about your brother, but you're not alone. Shinra smiled genuinely. When they arrived, he first greeted Iris warmly, then met Maki in the hallway, who was relieved to see him. After that he joined Arthur and Tamaki. Hanawa opened the door saying, I'm glad to see you, and immediately handed him work. Shinra entered Captain Obi's room saying, I've returned to duty. He gave him a report about Ogo and Leonardo's story, asking permission to meet the 4th Company Captain. Obi asked, if we assume Captain Leonardo's story is true, that means the Evangelist's group was involved in your family's incident. Shinra said, it's not easy for me to believe that the demon I've been chasing all my life is my mother. Obi asked, and if she really is? Shinra replied, then I'll find a way to turn the Infernals back into humans again.